Okay, good morning all. Mute the video as well as microphone from your end. Okay, so you have shared, few people have already shared the assignment, but the assignment, whatever you have shared, is containing only one particular topic. That is, you have done it for robust boundary value analysis. I asked you to do it for worst case boundary value analysis also, if you can recall it. Okay, not a problem. Few people have already said that they cannot access the link. The link has already been disabled from my end. So I'll enable it once again. Whatever the things that you have uh, already submitted, just take that out, resubmit it before my Monday's class. Monday is my next class, I think. Tomorrow I don't have any class. So Monday till Monday, you have sufficient amount of time. So what you do is you just take those particular assignment papers, whatever you have submitted, resubmit it with two different techniques. One is the boundary value analysis only with respect to your robustness, with respect to weak boundary value analysis. I hope it is clear. So there is no doubt with respect to this. Can we share the screen so that we can continue our regular class? Can we continue? Hello? Is it clear with respect to your assignment, what you need to do? And assignment, I'll share the template, how it should be. So in the same template, you just put, you just create a file and submit it on the same folder. Okay, yeah, we'll continue. So equivalence class testing, which we had taken it in the last class, probably we had seen very few things with respect to it. Main drawbacks of your boundary value analysis was gap was not identified properly. That was a major thing that we had, along with it, redundancy. So these two, they are saying that it will be overridden or it will be taken care in the equivalence class testing. So once we go with equivalence class testing, I told you there is a concept called as relation with respect to your discrete mathematical structure. The same relation here, we are just applying it. One is called as domain will be there in the relation, and the other one is called as range. Normally, domain is nothing but a set of elements or series of elements where the input will be taken into consideration. Whereas range is the one which we'll be targeting to. So based on these two particular variables, we have one particular function to be applied. So that is nothing but your f. So once you say a particular domain, whatever the value that you choose, if it is reflected with respect to the range also, with respect to the same particular value, then we'll say that it is a reflexive one. And if you are going with symmetric, suppose if you say A to B or B to A, both are one and the same, then we'll say that it is a symmetric relation. And the last one is transitive. If we have three such sets where each particular set is depending on each other. Say, for example, A, B, and C. A is depending on B, B is depending on C, then A is automatically dependent on C. This is what the transitive rule is all about. Whether it is a relation, whether it is a set, whether it is anything, everywhere we'll apply the same particular rule itself. So the same thing is applied here. If we have all these three combinations, then we'll say that you will be having with respect to your equivalence relation. I hope that slide was also shared to you in the last class, right? This is what the slide is. So in this particular thing, what we'll be doing is, we'll be just defining a relation, what it is, how a relation can be reflexive, symmetric, followed by transitive. There are totally 9 relations available according to our mathematical structure, but we are taking only 3 relations out of it. So equivalence relation R induces a partition on the set S, where the partition is a subset of S such that. So we'll just take a whiteboard so that we can easily go through it. Somebody who has just logged in, switch off the microphone. Okay. Yeah. So yesterday we were just saying that x1, x2 as two variables. X2 is one more variable. Okay. So this particular x1 is ranging from 1 to 10. This is a valid range, valid inputs. Less than 1, one more. This is an invalid range, because if we are going beyond your particular one input, what will be the case? That is one particular type of category we are just making it. Greater than 10 also, it's an invalid. This is only with respect to your variable. Similarly, if I take variable 2, 1 to 10 is a range of valid input. Less than 1, invalid. Same thing, greater than 10, invalid. This is with respect to 2 set. So x1 is one set, one subset. I'll just remind you this. X2 another subset. Fine, clear? So x1 is one variable, x2 is another variable. So 2 variables are there with a valid range 1 to 10. Both are having the same valid range. So your less than 1 is invalid and greater than 10 is invalid. That's what the range that we are having. This is invalid input. Now we have a relation R defined among the 2 variables x1 and x2 as equal to is a relation, that is R. Now if I just say x1 R x2, then the range that I'm choosing is 1 comma 1. Sorry, I'm choosing the input as 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2. Similarly, 3 comma 3. It goes on till 10 comma 10 is available. I'll just take it for valid ranges itself. Okay, so I'm just least bothered about the invalid one, whereas with respect to the valid only, I'm just taking it. Now this one, all the particular thing, whichever I have just quoted it over there, is nothing but uh, uh, range itself. So it is nothing but it's an reflexive relation, because 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, like that it has been mapping. Now, if I just say the same thing, next domain, if I am just looking forward, domain will be 1, comma 2, comma 3, etc. up to 10. It's a separate one. Similarly, your range will be 1, 2, 3, etc. Fine. The next ones. Suppose I'll change this particular equal to, not visible. Oh, now, okay. I'll just explain this once again. So x1 is a variable of one subset where the range is taking from 1 to 10 valid inputs. Similarly, x2 is another variable where the range will be one and the same, 1 to 10 valid inputs itself. And what I'm just doing is less than 1, I'm categorizing it as invalid input, greater than 10, invalid input itself. Similarly, less than 1, what happens with respect to x2? What happens with respect to x2 with respect to greater than 10 also? I'm just putting it as invalid. Now, I have a relation R defined among the two variables x1 and x2 as equal to x1 related to x2. This is how we'll be representing it in mathematical representation. So we have taken the certain particular values. So 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3, all these are equal to itself, right? So depending on this, if you are defining the domain and range, that's what I'm just listing it out here. Okay. The next one is I'm just changing this particular equal to as less than. In this relation, x1 is one variable, x2 is another variable. If you just combine those two, then you will be getting the superset of that particular variables. Understanding it? So with respect to this, now x1 and x2. Now the particular relation says that it is x1 variable should be less than x2. That's what less than is all about. So that is, I want to make it specific enough. X1 should be less than x2. Normally, whichever it comes with respect to your left hand side, always the beak will be pointing to that particular. That is how it will be just pointed. Now 1 comma 2, I can have it. Similarly, I'll just take few values. I'll not take all the particular 10 values in this. So I'll just take a few relations, not all. So next one is 3 comma, sorry, 2 comma 3, I can take it. The next value will be 3 comma 4. Okay. Now my domain will be changing as 1, 2, 3, and your ranges will be 2 comma 3 comma. So this is how your domain and range will be working. Now, if I take 2 comma 1, will it be one and the same according to the relation? Will it be one and the same according to the relation? So this is 1 comma 2 is also 1 is less than 2. 2 comma 1 is also 2 is less than 1. No, right? So this cannot happen. So if you are not finding this, then you cannot say it is a symmetric. It is called as asymmetric relation. Understanding it? So if you want to make this particular thing happen, say for example, 1 comma 1 or 1 comma 2 or something like that, then the particular complete thing will be changing it to the different. So this cannot be a symmetric one. So if it is not a symmetric one, we cannot say that it is an equivalence class or equivalence relation exists between them. So this is a simple example or simple thing that we can just go through it with respect to your uh, domain and range understanding. So we'll just move on to the next one. So here in your equivalence class relation, they have given that the intersection of any two subsets is empty. Why it is so? Just to avoid the redundancy, we are doing it. Disjoint sets, that is what the thing that they have just added it during the motivation. In the motivation slide, they have added this word called as disjoint. What is this disjoint? Disjoint is nothing but complete whatever the set that you are taking it from one particular set should not be overlapped with respect to the other set. This is what the meaning is. So the union of all subsets is the original set. So if you take it as a maximum x, y, z, n number of variables, if you are grouping it in a separate one, if you combine all those particular things, then you'll be always getting up with respect to your superset, where your gaps will be filled. All the variables will be encountered. So that's how your equivalence relation is all about. Yeah. Next one is equivalence partitioning. This is very, very important. So how the partition occurs, we will be not concentrating with respect to it. Then the whole particular theory behind it will be going wrong. So it's hard for us to decide what is the classes that we'll be having. So concentrate more on this particular thing. They will say domain and range. According to this particular software testing principle, in your equivalence class partitioning, what they are saying is domain will be based on your inputs. Inputs always it is independent. X1 is separate, X2 is separate, X3 is separate, like that, Y, Z, whatever you take it, everything is independent between each other. There is no relationship. Whereas ranges are nothing but the output that we are concentrating with. These outputs are dependent among each other. That is common. If I take it as an example of a triangle problem or an X-ray problem or any other particular problem, in the triangle problem, we have certain outputs. What is the outputs that we are having? Four categories of outputs we are having it. Either it can come in one particular group saying that it is an equivalence class relation, sorry, equilateral triangle or isosceles triangle or a scalene triangle where all the three sides are unequal. Still, we form a triangle. Based on this, we'll be just doing it, right? So, other one is not a triangle, cannot be formed. So, that's what four categories are there. So, four range of values or variables that will be having it. Whereas in the domain, three variables are we are having it. Three groups of values will be having it. You need to combine, you need to make sure that all the three particular values, whatever you pick it from three categories, those should be reflected in any one of these particular range you have it. So in your equivalence class partitioning here onwards, what you can say is your domain is nothing but your inputs, whereas range is nothing but your outputs. So this is what you can just go forward. So when you are defining a relation on the input domain D, so where X and Y belongs to the domain, that's what I said. X and Y are inputs for me, and X related to Y if and only if f of X, that is with respect to your f of X, which will be equal to f of Y, where f is the program function. What is function? We'll be finding it out whether a triangle can be formed or not. With respect to us, we'll be just checking for several conditions. With respect to the conditions, we are always checking for whether all the particular sides are equal or not. That is nothing but your program. So that function, if it is equal, then what will be? If something else, this function f of X is different, f of Y is different, then you cannot say it as a equilateral triangle. Sorry, you cannot write, you cannot say it as an equivalence partitioning exists among them. I hope it is clear. So domain means input, range is output. So with respect to this particular domain, we are expecting some particular output. That's what we'll be just saying it. So what they are saying is they have picked certain outputs, certain inputs from one particular domain, and they are just checking for whether that particular output is existing or not. So if that exists, then it will be moving on to the next step. Otherwise, it will be just changing its particular thing. So it purely depends on it. Next, equivalence partitioning, whenever we are concentrating with, works best when function is many to one function. Many to one function means what? In the functions, there are several particular categories. This also is a flavor which is available with respect to your discrete mathematical structure itself. So we were wondering why we need to study functions, relations, and all those things. See here, set theory, basic thing, logic, basic thing, followed by your functions and relations. We will be applying it in our computer science theory. That's why we need to learn. So functions, many to one function. Many to one means what? The best example is your previous one. See, many inputs we are taking it for one particular output we are just putting. Say, for example, in all these particular three inputs, whatever you say, x1 as 1, x2 as 1, x3 as 1, with respect to x1, x2, x3 as a sides of a triangle, if you are taking it, then 1, 1, 1. If you are taking it, then it should be related to equilateral triangle. That's what it says. So that is many to one. If it is done, then it works best. Test cases are formed by selecting one value from each equivalence class. Test cases are formed by selecting one value from each equivalence class. See here, there are so many partitions available here. Each particular group, you take it one among that particular group, that will solve your problem. It is not necessary that you need to check for all the particular categories. Any one from this, it will give you the output. Any one from this group, that's okay. Anyone from this group? Yes, okay. I'm talking about one input. Like this, you may be having n number of inputs. So n number of inputs means in that one particular case, you just take it. It is not necessary that always you need to check for less than one or less than one, greater than 10. Both are invalid. Any one you take it, that's okay. There is nothing like you need to go with less than one, that is 0, 0, 11, 11. No need. Any one is okay. That's what the meaning is. So one set, you can just take it. Identifying the classes may be hard. That's what I said. So identifying the classes means identifying the partition is very hard. How will you partition it? So I have taken this particular thing. What is this? X1 is ranging from 1 to 10. Now I need to partition means how should I partition it? Can I partition as 1 to 2, 3 to 4, like that? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 particular values or two values grouping into, so 5 different partitions. Can I make it? Some people say that, oh no, I'll be going with 1 to 10 as a one complete range. Some people may be saying that 1 to 5, I'll make it. Remaining 6 to 10, I'll group it in a separate one. Anything is possible. There is no restriction on it. So how the particular input ranges are being divided or partitioned plays a vital role. So it purely depends on individual who is working on that particular test. It's very hard. So as I have told you, there are so many flavors available with respect to equivalence class testing. It is similar to your boundary value analysis itself. Only change with respect to your boundary value analysis and equivalence classes. Equivalence class always works with logical variables, logical quantities, whatever is that. So with respect to that, it will be just variable. Whereas with respect to your boundary value analysis, it will be mainly concentrated on physical quantities. Physical quantities, we are already seen it. So now, logical quantities, which is not physically available, we are assuming it. We are making that thing will be will be available in future or will be there. So depending on that, we'll be just designing the test. So that's what it's. So here there are several cases. So as I have already reminded you, two main flavors are available. One is called as weak, another one is called as strong. So in your particular, I'll just okay, I'll just rewrite this. So what it says is in your equivalence partitioning testing, we can say it, or equivalence class partitioning, also you can say it, ECP, we can say it, or EPT. Both are one and the same. This will be consisting of two things, main flavors. One is weak, another one is strong. Okay, so main flavors, I had just addressed it. Now, in this, we have two more flavors available with respect to weak. Weak, normal. The other one is weak, robust. Similarly, with respect to your strong, normal, strong, robust. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? Am I audible? See, anything is there, you can chat. I won't be repeating it. Yes? Is it clear? Hello? Yes. So I want all of you to participate actively. So don't miss any particular thing. I'm just trying to share, I'm just converting all the videos to a very equivalent or in an audible manner, and I'm just sending it through the same link. I'll just try to send it today by evening. Okay, don't worry about it. So just concentrate on the topics that I'm just doing it. If anything, any problem exists, anything to be repeated or any particular concept need to be taken into consideration once again, yes, I'm there to help you out. But only thing is your active participation is always needed. Okay, so if anything is asked, just respond to it. Otherwise, I'll be alone talking the whole class. So no gain, no loss. That should not happen. At least you should gain something so that it will help you to score good marks. Okay, yeah, we'll continue. So these two flavors are there in the equivalence partitioning technique or equivalence partitioning testing, or we can say that as equivalence class partitioning also. Weak and strong. In the weak, weak normal, weak robust. In the strong, strong normal, strong robust. What is this? We'll go one by one. Okay, so this is how the flavors is. Apart from this, they are saying one more flavor is that these two are main thing we will be concentrating. Apart from this, they say that one more flavor is that by name called as traditional equivalence partitioning technique. Or I'll just say it in other words, equivalence partitioning technique. Okay, so your equivalence partitioning technique, basically it will be having two flavors. One more flavor they have added, that is nothing but your traditional equivalence class. Last 10 minutes more, I'll just briefly explain this. If possible, one particular case will take it. Okay, so traditional, it always focuses on the invalid inputs. It is similar to your worst case boundary value analysis. Sorry, worst case robust boundary value analysis. So worst case robust boundary value analysis is nothing but yeah, traditional. Worst case BVA responds to your traditional boundary value analysis or traditional equivalence partitioning technique. Normal, all the cases, all the classes, whichever is there in the valid range of input will take it. Robust always deals with classes of the valid and the invalid values of inputs. Classes of valid and invalid values of inputs will just take it. Okay, so weak, it's always therefore single fault assumption, one from each class will just take it. If you are strong, then one from each class with respect to your Cartesian product, but it supports multiple fault assumption. Multiple fault in the sense all the three variables. Suppose we have taken a single fault and multi-fault. Okay, I'll just explain it. Normal, always valid. Next one is robust, both valid as well as invalid inputs. So this is talking about the inputs itself. So if you are getting confused, I'll just type that one. Help you. Inputs. Okay. Yeah. Next one. So apart from that, what is weak? Okay. This, if you are going with weak, identifying the weak as the test case design, then what we'll be doing is we'll be just taking one particular invalid case and rest as valid. That means whichever the variables are there, in that one particular variable, invalid case, rest as valid inputs. For example, if we have the triangle problem, triangle problem, in the triangle problem, if we have the inputs 1 to 10 for all three sides, then for all the three sides 1 to 10, I'm just taking it as an example. Okay, so with respect to this, one value I'll be taking it as outside the range, and the remaining two sides value I should take it within the range. This is what the meaning is with respect to peak identification. Understanding it? If you are going with weak normal, then all the input should be valid inputs. If you're going with weak robustness, then you need to accept this particular type of input. This is for weak robust. Weak normal, as the normal says that all should be in the range. Whether you form a triangle or not, that's a different scenario. But you can choose the input in this particular type of ranges. That's what it says. Okay, strong will just continue in the next class probably. So any doubts? I just wanted to ask you, or I just wanted to hear it from you. Any doubts till date? So whatever I have covered till now. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me question or raise your hand so that I can just uh, allow you to talk. So I just wanted an input from your end, how the thing is going. Is it okay, or do I want to change anything? So hardly 4 minutes left out. So kindly, you can raise your hand if possible, or else just type something so that I can just who is register number 57? 57? I'm unmuting you. 57. You can just talk. You can share your particular feedback. Hello? Am I audible? Register number 57. Hello? Hello? So I'm unmuted you, ma'am. or sir, you can just share your thoughts. Your name? Hello?
Pooja A, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Tell me, how was the class?
It's good, sir.
Are you able to concentrate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're getting the things.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything to be improved from my end?
No, sir.
So whatever I'm typing it, are you able to view it, the whiteboard?
Yes, sir. Sometimes it goes.
No. I
No,
have.
sir.
No, okay, fine. So what I'll be doing is I'll be pausing the share and then I'll be just resharing you this particular whiteboard. So in that particular period, yes, of course, I'll be just pausing it. So that's okay.
Okay.
Rest of it is okay, right? No problem.
Yes, sir. No problems.
Okay. Uh, thank you, ma'am. So anyone who want to just share your view, we'll just talk with Surya. Surya, where are you? Anudeep, I'm just unmuting you, man. So you can. Hello, Anudeep. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is the whatever the things that I'm delivering, is it okay for you
Yes,
or
sir.
anything?
Yes. No, sir. It's good, sir.
It's good. Okay, fine. You're able to understand the things.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Uh, whatever the things that I'm writing it on the board, afterwards I'll be just going back to the PDF document. Is it visible, both the things?
Sorry, I didn't get you, sir.
Hello?
I didn't get you, sir.
See, I'm using both the things, right? Whiteboard, I'm writing it something. So backend, I'm having a PDF file. I'll be sharing both the things simultaneously. Once I write it, once I go back to the PDF file, both the things are visible to you or not?
Visible, sir. It's visible.
Okay, fine. That's what I just wanted to know. Okay, fine. Thank you. Uh,
Thank you, sir.
yeah. Uh, you can just, yeah. Okay. I've just randomly picked 2 members. Next time I can ask anybody. So please be active so that your participation based on that, I can also go well inside the classroom. So, okay, fine. I'll just enable the link with respect to the assignment. Take all your assignments, whoever have submitted now. So don't submit it separately. Submit in the link. If you are finding any difficulty in finding it or submitting in the link, you can call me. Okay, I'm just winding up the class. Bye bye.